After the United States joined the Allies, together they were able to defeat Germany and made them responsible for the efforts of the war. During this time period, women were gaining opportunity socially, economically, and they replaced positions that were traditionally held by men. In 1929, the stock market crashed and people were out of work, and the country sank into a Great Depression. Men marched off to war, and women regained their acceptance in society, and they began to play a large role in the workforce, in the factory, and volunteering organizations. This helped change the political positions and gained equality throughout history. World War I played a significant part in developing women's political rights. In the beginning of the First World War, 13,000 women established in the United States Navy, mostly doing clerical work. The Army hired women nurses and telephone operators to work overseas, and civilian employees left their jobs to serve in the war. Women replaced their jobs. Women filled many jobs that were brought to existence by wartime needs, and as a result, the number of women employed greatly increased in the industries. Many women who entered the workforce were married and had to balance their work lives with their family lives. But regardless of their age and status, women were willing to become successful workers. A lot of women were persuaded to sign up for the war due to the use of propaganda that was established in the early years. Posters, videos, and slogans became important state tools in promoting a vision of the war. The government realized how critical women became during this time, and they had organizations such as Red Cross and YMCA to help with the war efforts by hiring as aides assistants. Women had become a symbol of hope and strength, which helped the United States in their victory. Servicemen returning home from Europe, America was saturated with men of working ages seeking employment. Since industry was no longer needed to produce war material, there were fewer jobs available. The economy fell to an all-time low, and the stock market crashed. This caused the nation to slip into despair. As panic and fear filled the nation, many individuals didn't know how to react. The unemployment line had reached its peak. Many women returned into their traditional roles in the family and maintained the household chores and took care of the children. This didn't last long though, as women were changed their role in society. The United States entered World War II to end the Great Depression. While some women joined the new female branches of the military, many worked in factories and filled jobs that were necessary. Many women who did not fight or work for pay chose to volunteer their time for the war efforts. Even though many women were unwilling to enter the war, they stayed committed. Around 3,500,000 women served in the U.S. Armed Forces, both at home and abroad. A wide variety of jobs were available to women for the first time. Some women joined the Nurse Corps and the Armed Forces so that more men could be sent into combat. Women were also employed in factories making bombs and aircraft parts as air raid warriors. The Women's Land Army was set up to keep farms working and producing food for the soldiers. The government decided that more women would have to become more involved in producing food and goods to support their war efforts. The Auxiliary Territorial Services was set up to employ women to free men and for active services. When women entered the Auxiliary Territorial Services, ATS, they were sent to the Army camps where they went through basic training on how to do their jobs, from cooking, being a clerk, engineering, or driving vehicles around the Army. Women were taught how to load torpedoes on submarines, taught how to forecast the weather, and women were taught how to become engineers and mechanics. The Women's Auxiliary Air Force, which was also known as WAAF and WASP, was formed in 1938. Women were trained as pilots and played an important part in air transportation and flying aircrafts from factories to airfields. Women Marines were assigned to over 200 different jobs, although with the Marines, the Navy, and the Coast Guard recruited women to help with their war efforts. Not only did women work in different branches of the military, but many women helped in factories and revived the economy. With millions of men fighting in the war, it was clear the only way America would be able to win the war was if it enlisted large numbers of women for employment. This government teamed up with the industry of the media to get women to join the forces. Women answered the call, and were motivated by the use of propaganda. With the sudden need of aircraft, ammunition, and electrical equipment, many factories began to become full of women to rescue. They worked in all manners of production, ranging from making ammunition to uniforms to aeroplanes. Women were essential for the production and supply of goods to our troops fighting overseas. While women in America fulfilled their duties on the front line, in the military or at home, devoted all their time to work for their family and war efforts, showing their patriotism, just like their male counterparts. With the number of advertisements and propaganda that encouraged women to take more responsibilities, they became very important to the war efforts. Women secured the right to vote and have a say in the path that America would follow, since they have an equal role in shaping history.